I want justice for Breonna Taylor because the police officers involved showed reckless disregard for her life and the lives of her neighbors. So you're saying she's Hi, family, and welcome to the audio version of my journal. I'm Steffanie Rivers. Come on in, kings and queens, and welcome to the conversation. You're watching my TriCast. I'm Steffanie Rivers, and I'm TriCasting on YouTube and Facebook Live and LinkedIn. So if this is your first time joining us, we want to welcome you to the conversation. And if you are returning, we want to welcome you back. We're going to wait a few minutes until we get started. But I do want to let you know that I am going to be looking for your comments and your input. If you know anyone who lives in the Detroit, Michigan area, or anywhere in Michigan for that matter, then this is going to be something that they would want to see. So be sure to invite them in if they're not here already as we start our program. Was trying to get my get everything ready for you. So most of us have heard the term skin folks are not necessarily your kin folks. And just because that means essentially just because somebody looks like you, that doesn't mean that they will behave like you and that they will act with your best interest in mind. So when it comes to law enforcement, some people have gotten all excited because they say that what we need in law enforcement to keep out and root out bully, liar, killer cops, dirty cops who brutalize, beat on, and kill innocent Black and brown people. They say what we need are more Black and brown people on patrol. They say what we need are more people, Black and brown people in authority within the police department. And so, from the patrol all the way to the police chief, they say if we have more Black and brown people who look like us, then this will not be happening. But some of those Black chiefs are our skin folks, but they don't behave like our kin folks. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the abuse of power or turning away from your accountability as a person in authority in the police department. We're going to talk about that blue wall of silence. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, why do we keep talking about this? Because it continues to be a problem so much so that the rabbit hole goes deeper and the rabbit hole gets wider. Case in point is the Detroit Police Department. That's where a cop by the name of Stephen Koo has been on the force for 12 years. And let's go ahead and show you Stephen Koo's. Now I'm going to try to pull this up and see if I can pull up Stephen Koo's. This is a picture of Stephen Koo. Stephen Koo has been on the force in the Detroit Police Department for 12 years. Now, this is a picture of Koo, and in those 12 years, Officer Stephen Koo, has had 85 complaints against him. Now, if 85 complaints against one police officer seems excessive, that's because it is. It is. Even in a climate where people are not afraid to speak out against bully, liar, killer cops, dirty cops, even when they are willing to speak truth to power, Stephen Koo has 85 complaints against him, and some people are still afraid to speak truth to power. So imagine how many people have not come out to file complaints against Stephen Koo. 85 complaints. Now, what are some of those people saying, and who are some of those people? Well, about 90% of the complaints filed against Stephen Koo have been from people of color, people who have gone on record that they are African American or Black or biracial. Okay. And what are they saying? They say that he has harassed them, that he has used racist language against them, and that he has abused his power as a police officer. Now, again, as 85 complaints, that's excessive. So now that we've seen Stephen Koo, that is excessive, because when you look at the average number of complaints against the cop in the Detroit Metro Police Department is 8. 8 is the average. So this police officer, Stephen Koo, has 10 times the number of complaints against him as a cop in the past 12 years. So he is considered to be the worst police officer on the force in Detroit in all time. Okay. Maybe even, the comparison hasn't been around the country, but 85, that is 10 times the amount of complaints against one police officer. Now, whatever investigations happen as a result of those 85 complaints, it never led to termination. The fact that Stephen Koo has avoided getting fired says that the police department in Detroit chose to take his side over the side of 85 people who live in and were confronted by Stephen Koo. Okay, so that says a lot as well. You're willing to take the 85 times you took the side of some dirty cop, racist, bully, liar, killer. I don't know if he's a killer, but racist, dirty, bully cop. You've taken his side over the side of 85 different people, and there's no telling who else he has bullied and lied on that did not want to come forward. And so when it's basically been Koo's word against, when it was Koo's word against these Black people, the police department chose to take Koo's word. And as I said, he never got terminated, but he almost got terminated one time. When did Stephen Koo almost get terminated? Stephen Koo, this racist, bully, liar cop, almost got terminated because he lied about shooting a police dog during a drug raid. That's the only time that this guy was on the verge of termination. Apparently there was a drug raid. He was involved in it. He shot the drug dog, and then that became the word of Koo against other police officers who also reported that he shot the drug dog. And that can't happen. So you mean to tell me he's been on the force for 12 years. He's been able to bully and lie on Black and brown people in the streets of Detroit, and that was okay with the powers that be in Detroit? But when this person shot a dog and lied about it, then, oh, that's too much for us to handle. And now he's on the verge of being terminated. Now, his disciplinary sergeant, because of him shooting the dog during the drug raid and lying about it, his disciplinary sergeant recommended that Stephen Koo be terminated. They recommended that he be fired, but he was not fired after all of the 85 incidents of reports of him abusing his power against the people, citizens of Detroit, after him shooting a dog, lying to investigators about it. He was recommended for termination, but he was saved from termination. Well, who is it that saved Stephen Koo from termination? So let's show you the person who saved Stephen Koo from termination. I'm working on it. The person who saved Stephen Koo from termination, her name is Elaine Bryant. This is a picture of Elaine Bryant. She's been on or had been on the police department in Detroit. She grew up in Detroit. She started as a patrol officer in Detroit, and she went through the ranks to become deputy chief at the Detroit Metro Police Department. And she is the person who capped for this racist white man who was a police officer who had 85 complaints against him, who shot a police dog and lied about it. And when his deputy and when his the person in charge of recommending whether he stay or go said Stephen Koo needs to go, he needs to be terminated, this Black woman, Elaine Bryant, went out on a limb for this racist white man and said, no, I'm gonna make sure that he stays on the force. So that's what happened. This is Elaine Bryant. She rose to be deputy chief of the Detroit Metro Police Department. So when I say kinfolk are not necessarily your kinfolk, she is one of the people that I'm talking about, because Elaine Bryant knew Stephen Koo. Now, if she's been on the force, she had been on the Detroit Police Department force for 21 years. 21 years. So she was there when Stephen Koo got there. She rose through the ranks. You can't tell me that she did not know about his behavior on these streets in Detroit. She knew. You can't tell me that she didn't know. She had been a cop for 21 years and rose through the ranks. So she, with her growing up there, that means she had friends who live in and around Detroit. She's got family who live in and around Detroit. She even has 2 Black sons, and we'll get to that later. But so you mean to tell me it was okay with her? So let's say she didn't really care about the 85 Black people, strangers who she didn't know. What about your family, Deputy Chief Elaine Bryant? Are you okay with your family, with Stephen Koo coming across your family on the street and how he might react to them? What type of harassment and racist behavior he might act towards them? That just does not make sense to me. So when we praise certain people, or when we look for certain people to be in a position of authority, we expect things from them in that position of authority. And this Elaine Bryant, she is not holding up. She did not do her She did not do right by her leadership. She did not do right by the Black community. She is skinfolk, but she is not kinfolk. Okay, so she was there throughout Stephen Koo's the whole 12 years that he has been on the force. So she knew about his 85 complaints against him, and she knew he was a dirty cop. So that is one of the people that we should be concerned about. So now he escaped 85 complaints without termination. He escaped shooting a police dog and lying about it to investigators. Now, a lot of people would have you think that nowadays, because you might think, well, this has to be like 15, 20 years ago. No, it was just in 2018. It was just 3 years ago that he was almost on the verge, or he was on the verge of termination. And so you would think that, okay, it was 3 years ago. And so maybe that has what has kept Stephen Koo from being promoted. But no, Stephen Koo, 3 months after he almost got fired for shooting a police dog, whose the life of the police dog seemed to be more important to the police department and the authority at that police department over the lives of the 85 people who complained about the harassment that Koo was putting him through. It seemed that they thought, okay, this dude would be a great sergeant. Let's promote him. Do you know 3 months after he almost got terminated, Stephen Koo was promoted to sergeant in the Detroit Metro Police Department. So now this dude, this dirty cop, is over training of a new generation of police officers. So you wonder why we cannot get rid of these dirty bully, liar, killer cops. It's because they now are being ushered through the system. They are in positions of authority. They are training new people, new police officers. And it's just like, it's something that we can't get rid of unless we know about it, because apparently the 85 people who complained about Koo didn't get together. But you know what? Maybe they saw that, we got Deputy Chief Elaine Bryant on the job. We got Mama Elaine Bryant on the job, and maybe she's going to do something about it. Maybe she will handle the situation, and she is not handling the situation. And that's why it's important for you and me to stay involved and go to the meetings and make the reports and speak out and make the phone calls and go down to the police department when we have issues and when our family members have issues. She didn't act like our kinfolk. She didn't protect our interests. Elaine Bryant, she was the deputy chief of the police department. Now, who is the person who actually promoted Stephen Koo to sergeant? Let's look at who the person was. We saw who it was who kept him from getting fired, who capped for him so he wouldn't get fired. Now let's look at the person who actually allowed him to get promoted. Here he is. This is Chief of Police James Craig. Chief of Police James Craig, a black man, promoted this dirty cop, even though he had 85 complaints against him, even though he shot a police dog and lied about it during the investigation. They still promoted him. Now, the police chief, James Craig, he's the person who also promoted Elaine Bryant to deputy chief Elaine Bryant in the Metro Detroit Police Department. And so James Craig also grew up in Detroit, Michigan. So he also has people, his family members, his neighbors, his church members, his friends and family driving, living, walking the streets of Detroit. So you mean to tell me these people, this black man doesn't know the value of having honest police officers, doesn't know the value of having of holding cops accountable for their actions? Now, you might say, well, maybe he didn't know. You can't tell me he didn't know, though. He didn't. There's no way somebody in your department has 85 complaints against him and you are a black man and you don't know about that. Now, here's the thing. So we know that as the chief of police, he has deputies. Elaine Bryant was one of those deputy chiefs. And so he delegates authority. But just as anybody who's in charge of the system, you have weekly meetings and you have monthly meetings. You might even have daily meetings whereby people bring things to your attention that you should be that you should know about as they happen. You mean to tell me somebody in your department who has 85 violations against him, somebody in your department who shot a police dog and lied about it and was on the verge of termination, you don't know about that? And you think that person is the best person to be sergeant? If that's the best that Detroit had to offer, they need to go back into receivership or conservatorship or whatever they called it, because during the era where Kwame Kilpatrick was the mayor, and all the issues that were going on. At some point, the police department went into conservatorship or receivership, whereby they had somebody else overseeing the department other than the mayor's office because of all the issues that were going on. So a lot is going on in Detroit that is like in the wake of issues that happen. But every day people are dying. Every day people are getting mistreated and harassed. And we cannot afford to let any old body be in control of the system. We need people who are accountable and who will be accountable. So you can't tell me that James Craig, who grew up in the city, didn't know and wasn't told that there's a guy who's on your force who has 85 complaints, who shot a police dog, who lied to investigators, and he would make the best sergeant. You know that he knew that dude was dirty, okay? Now, I did in my research, I found out that one of the rules of promoting people through the Detroit Police Department, one of the police union rules is that you cannot take into consideration someone's disciplinary history when you are considering them for advancement or for promotion, which is sad, because how else would you be considering somebody for promotion if not partly or wholly based on how they acted and their disciplinary history? It makes no sense, but I see why crooked ass, dirty ass police unions would want that to be, because they don't want the best that they have to offer. They're trying to cover for these people. So let's say Police Chief James Craig, just because you can't officially look at somebody's history, you know their history though. You know how they operate. So you're an authority to approve what they do or not approve what they do. You have the authority to promote people or not promote people. So why, black man James Craig, are you promoting a racist ass white cop or racist anybody, whoever they are? Why you promote somebody who has 85 listed known incidents of racial harassment and discrimination and abuse of authority? That makes no sense. It makes me want to ask, what does this dude have over y'all that y'all are continuing to protect him from the accountability and the consequences of his behavior. What is going on in Detroit? Well, you might ask, well, why did it take so long for this to be known? I don't know. I don't live in Detroit. So if you know anybody who lives in and around Detroit and you can help me figure this out, or you can help the people of Detroit figure this out, please do. Please send this to them. Please like, share, and subscribe to my video so that when I post new videos, you will be the first to know. So let's keep going, because how was it that this came to light? Well, there was a local television station, and they have, these special investigative reports that they do. So they got to looking into police misconduct, because apparently it's a thing. Although there are a number of Detroit police officers who have never had a complaint filed against them, and the average number is 8. This dude has 85, worst in the history of the department, probably worst in the country. Who knows? But this affiliate, ABC affiliate TV station, got to looking around and they realized this. And so they started asking some questions. Who is it who would protect this guy from being terminated? And they went looking for Deputy Chief Elaine Bryant. Well, guess what, family? She's no longer there. Guess where she is, family? Elaine Bryant is the new police chief of Columbus, Ohio's police department. It keeps getting, the rabbit hole keeps getting deeper and wider. It's like they are shuffling around these people, shuffling them around the system, and you wonder why. Today, somebody over here is getting shot and killed, unarmed Black people getting shot and killed. Tomorrow, over here, unarmed Black people getting shot and killed. What's going on? It's because it's the same people. They just keep rotating in and out of different police departments. And so they went looking for Elaine Bryant, only to find out she's no longer in Detroit. She was appointed to the police chief of Columbus, Ohio, just last month, just in June of 2021. So I did my research to find out, well, what's going now? You probably remember last December, a Black man, Andre Hill, he was visiting a relative. It was nighttime. He came out of the garage. He had a cell phone in his hand. His other hand was in his jacket because it's December in Ohio, so it's cold. And so the cop, Adam Coy, came up on him, shot Andre Hill, killed Andre Hill, and then it was this big protest because, first of all, the cop didn't even start his cop cam until after the shooting, but it just so happened the cam backs up 60 seconds before you push record, and then it records 60 seconds of what happened, and that's how we saw what happened. So the police officer, Adam Coy, got fired. He then was charged with reckless homicide. So now he is waiting to go on trial for reckless homicide against Andre Hill. And also Adam Coy, this police officer, this disgraced, terminated police officer who is now charged with reckless homicide of Andre Hill. Adam Coy is now requesting that his trial be moved to another venue because he's trying to get out of Columbus where all the Black people are, because he's trying to go over there where the white people are so he can be at their mercy of the white people. So he won't be at the mercy of the Black people where he did the crime. So I say, you did the crime there, then you stand trial before those peers. That's what you need to do. One. Number two, Andre Hill's family got a $10 million lawsuit settlement from the city of Columbus because of all this just last month. A lot has happened, y'all. It's so much going on. But yeah, they got the $10 million settlement from the city of Columbus just last month. A lot happened in June of 2021. And so that's what's going on with that case. But in the meantime, the police chief of Columbus, Ohio, had resigned because of all this. And so now Columbus, Ohio, since December of 2020 or January 2021, they've been looking for a new police chief. They had 9 people that they were interviewing, and 4 people were the finalists. And among those finalists was Elaine Bryant, who was deputy chief in Detroit. Well, now she got the job, just appointed in June of 2021. Now, I wonder if that committee, the search committee in Columbus, I wonder if they did their homework enough, like I'm doing my homework, like that, like the affiliate in Detroit did their homework to backtrack and find out who was in charge of this dirty cop, had 85 complaints against him, was up for termination, and somebody blocked his termination. I wonder if they did their research. And I wonder if they had done their research, would they have still chosen Elaine Bryant? So there was a video that Elaine Bryant did with a local station in Columbus. And I want to show you that interview. It's 18 minutes long, but I'm going to just show you the part about Elaine Bryant, her response to the question of, new Chief Bryant, how are you going to connect the citizens of Columbus and the police officers in Columbus so that we can live together in harmony and get to know each other? This was what she had to say. Okay, so she claimed she expects for officers to do the right things for the right reasons at all times. But when Mama was in charge of the household in Detroit, she let a racist ass, bully ass cop 85 complaints. She saved him. She capped for him. She protected him from termination. But this is what she's telling y'all. It sounds good. It sounds good. The aesthetics are, it looks good. You know, I've read a lot about how, you know, are Black women gonna have to clean up the police department too? And so because Columbus, Elaine Bryant, now Columbus Police Chief Elaine Bryant, she is the first woman police chief in Columbus. She's the first Black police chief in Columbus. So the aesthetics of it are all positive. This Black woman is going to come and clean house in Columbus, and she's going to make it all right. Not knowing that Elaine Bryant left a dirty ass house in Detroit. Okay. She let a dirty cop stay in the house in Detroit, but she claims she gonna come and clean up y'all's house. This is an example of skin folks who are not your kin folks. And I don't know if you know anybody who lives in Columbus, you need to show them this video. They need to start asking, it's not too late. They need to start holding Elaine Bryant's feet to the fire, because she is a skinfolk who is not our kinfolk. And she in the 18 minutes, she talks about her having Black sons and how she talks to them about how to act when police officers stop you. But here's the thing. If you got a dirty cop who stops you, there's really nothing right that you can do because he already dirty. She's already dirty. They are just looking for an excuse to treat you wrong, to shoot you. In fact, one of the complaints that Stephen Koo had, the racist white cop in Detroit had, was that he pulled somebody over. Actually, they were walking down the street. They weren't even driving a car. It wasn't even a traffic stop. He pulled them off the street and said, "I wish you would move. My trigger finger is itching." So he just itching to shoot somebody. He just want a reason to shoot somebody. And so this is the person that she claims in that she will not tolerate in Columbus. Police Chief Elaine Bryant. She claims she ain't gonna tolerate that in Columbus, but she tolerated it all day long in Detroit, y'all. So we need to start asking questions of these people because we cannot afford to have these people in positions of power and authority, and we're looking for them to do the right thing, to behave on our act on our behalf, and our family and friends walking the street and driving, and we think they're going to hold racist people and bully cops and dirty cops, no matter what the issue is. We thinking they're going to hold them accountable, and they are not. In her case, she is not. So her answer sounds good, but she left a dirty house back in Detroit. And I wonder if the selection committee knew that, how they would have, if they would have chosen someone else. I hope that they would have chosen someone else. So now we got Elaine Bryant out of the way. Well, what happened when that TV station in Detroit went looking for Police Chief James Craig to ask him, why would you promote a guy to sergeant, to a position of authority, who has 85 complaints against him? But they couldn't find James Craig, or at least he's no longer the police chief. Guess where James Craig is, y'all? James Craig is running for the governor of Michigan. He retired from the police department June 2021. It was a lie. It's too many coincidences, in my opinion. Too many coincidences going on. A lot is going on in 2021. Seemed like they knew something was about to come out, and everybody started trying to scatter like roaches, and so they don't have to be held accountable. They go and set up shop somewhere else, so they won't get fired, so they won't get held to their feet to the fire. So James Craig is now he is running for, and I already showed you his pictures, and then me trying to look for it again. Although, let me see if I can pull it up for you again. James Craig he's now running for governor of Michigan. So now all the mishandling and all the promoting of dirty cops that he did in Detroit, now he wants to take that same stuff to all of Michigan, y'all. I don't think y'all can handle that in Michigan. I think the next time James Craig shows up to your church asking for your vote, the next time he shows up to the community center, the next time he has a media event telling you he wants your vote, the next time somebody knocks on your door and says, "I'm here on behalf of James Craig, former police chief of Detroit." He was also police chief in Cincinnati, Ohio, I think. He'd been around the system. Used to be a cop in LA. He'd been around the system. Now he wants to be the governor of Michigan. I think y'all need to let them know I will not be voting for him because he allowed a cop with 85 complaints against him, racist bully cop, to stay on the police force, and then he promoted him. So I don't want nobody like that in charge of the governor's mansion. That's what you need to be saying. That needs to be your response. Demand accountability on all levels, because skin folk ain't necessarily your kinfolk. And if you think he's going to do better by Black people in Michigan as the governor than he did as the police chief of the Detroit Police Department, you probably are going to be mistaken. There are lots of examples of people who are skin folk, but they ain't no kin based on how they move and the decisions that they make. So we need to make sure that we don't get scooped up, that we don't get swooned, that we don't get tricked into voting for someone just because of how they look. It needs to be about their policies, and it needs to be in the policies. See, we don't have that thing where you can't look back at somebody's past history. You can't look back at their history. In fact, there's a term that says your past performance is an indication of your future behavior and your future results. Okay, so his past behavior, whether it's Elaine Bryant, the new police chief of Columbus, or whether it's James Craig, the former police chief in Detroit, how they acted then is an indication of how they gonna act in the future. And if this is how they act, they don't even he need to go into the house and retire. We don't need you in Michigan doing some crazy mess all over the state. We just cannot put up with that. And so let's go back before we end. Let's go back to Stephen Coop. Whatever happened to this dude? Well, after Elaine Bryant left and now is the police chief in Columbus, Ohio. Now, after James Craig left and retired from being the police chief in Detroit, now nobody is who's looking over this dude, Stephen Coop. Well, the replacement for James Craig is now the interim police chief, and I forgot his name, but of course he was one of the deputy chiefs under James Craig. So we know the fruit of corruption doesn't fall far from the tree. So I'm not expecting a lot of this dude, but because that TV station brought to light this 85 complaints against this racist white cop, now the current interim police chief in Detroit was basically forced to rein this dude in off the street, and now he's assigned him to a desk job. But now, while we're doing our investigation into this, like, what else do you need, interim police chief in Detroit, to determine the severity of this situation of somebody who has 85 complaints and shot a police dog and lied about it? What else? And then got promoted 3 months after that. What else do you need? So they put him on a desk job. So he's still getting his sergeant's pay. He's still getting his pension filled, and all the benefits of being a sergeant he still gets while they investigate the situation. So if you know anybody who lives in Detroit or in Columbus, Ohio, especially in Michigan, though, y'all need to send them this video because they need to stay on top of this. Now, that is your assignment. We got to start paying more attention to these skin folk who's supposed to be our kinfolk, who really act like they are playing for the other team. Because basically they are messing up our chances of cleaning up the system. And this is why I am one of the people who says we need to defund the police, because there's so much corruption. There's so many people involved in this system that are protecting bully, liar, killer cops. And some of them look like us and some of them don't look like us. And since we don't know who's who, I say take the money and redo it into community policing. And that leads me to another thing. There are a lot of police officers who patrol the streets in Detroit, but they don't even live in Detroit. There are a lot of police officers who patrol the streets in Dallas, where I live, and they don't even live in Dallas. So they don't even care about how they treat the citizens on the street because they don't live there. They don't have to look at you at church and at school and at the grocery store and driving down the street, and you're not their neighbor, so they don't care. So there are a lot of things that community policing would address. If you make people live in a community where they work and where they patrol, a lot of this stuff is going to be ended because it would address some of the issues that we have. And there you are. So to find out more about the things that I care about, you can go to the written version of my journal. It's at eurweb.com. Thanks, and you have a super day.